From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined as always with our super producer, Dylan, the Tennessee pal Fagan. If you are tuned into listener mail, the evening it publishes, welcome to Thursday, November 20th. Side note, we're recording this on November 19th. We have so much to get to today, guys, but first and foremost, as we know, we can't do this without some begas, and they got to be Ruta.
Are we going to dig them up? Are we going to dig them up?
It's Rutabaga time, Tennessee, if you will.
Welcome back to Ben Barkley and the Dogs in the Morning. Now, where are my Poochie friends?
Yeah.
Before we play another hour of nothing but hits, we have a special guest, Professor Jan Warmoth. You guys hear about this big asteroid coming our way? Well, this guy says it's a rutabaga. Crazy, right? Professor Warmoth, should we be worried?
Yes, we are in grave danger. This root vegetable is hurtling towards us and could make impact. It is the size of a football field.
Speaking of football, who here loves the Pensacola potatoes? You think they have a chance this year, Jan?
What? I do not know about football. This is very serious.
Well, that's a bummer. Anyway, let's dig up some tunes and we'll be back with more on this asteroid thing. Here's Moves Like Jagger, 5 times in a row.
Yes.
Poetry. Dylan, you do the best disaffected, bro voice I've ever heard in my life, and I adore it.
I love your voice work there, Dylan. I mean, obviously, these are glimpses into realities just one step away from our own. You know what I mean?
And a glimpse into the genius mind of super producer Dylan Tennessee pal Fagan.
Can we please start some X-hype about getting Dylan on the radio, some Rutabaga radio action?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's time doing big in the Rutabaga verse. Which, weirdly enough, sounds like something I could say with a straight face at a TED Talk. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Rutabaga radio.
Rutabaga radio, Rutabaga verse. We're here for it, and we are so glad you're here with us. We're going to take a break for a word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get to some messages from you.
And we have returned with today's first bit of listener correspondence coming to us from Saturn. Not the planet. Maybe.
Not the car company.
Maybe.
For sure.
Well,
Maybe?
yeah, okay, for sure. No, I'm with you. But possibly from the reaches of the black ink that is outer space. But for now, we're going to call our listener Saturn, who's asked us to do so. Hello and howdy, call me Saturn. I was just listening to your show about secret underground bunkers. A banger of an episode, if you ask me. That was me, Noel Brown. And when y'all mentioned long-term loud noise complaints, I got a chill. I live in Minneapolis, in a neighborhood called Longfellow. We love Minneapolis. It is just off the Mississippi River, and I do love it, but we have a local noise called the Longfellow Boom. And it has me wondering about the possibility of an underground city, possibly being built inside the bluffs of the Mississippi River. I'm going to take a pause here. This is in regard to, I think, a little aside moment that we had where we were talking about the series Better Call Saul, wherein some German engineers build this underground bunker meth lab situation. And in order to do it, they have to set off these depth charges. That's the wrong term. That's for underwater. These, charges, explosions, that controlled demolition to build these tunnels. And in order to disguise this, they do it like when a train is passing. Matt said something that led to that little conversation, and we were like, it was occurring to us that maybe some of these mysterious sounds could be as a result of this kind of activity. I think I summed that up relatively accurately. So going on with the email, my thinking goes, the University of Minnesota built an archive in the bluffs on the opposite side of the river. So why not an underground town, lair, or what have you? Here's where it gets weird. I went onto the Nextdoor website, where I have seen tons of posts about the loud booms that we hear in the middle of the night. Here's the thing. I cannot find a single post about it. Not one. I know I've seen them before. I might have even posted about it myself. It sounds like an explosion and is a rough thing to wake up to. So where did all the posts go? I did find 2 comments in other people's posts in Nextdoor that mention the Longfellow Boom, so I'm attaching those screenshots. But now I'm really starting to wonder, is there something being built right underneath our feet? Maybe not, but I thought it was interesting enough that I decided to write in about it. Thanks for the fabulous show. Take care. Saturn.
Okay. First of all, I need some help, guys. Super dumb question. How would you describe a bluff?
Isn't a bluff like a cliffside?
I just genuinely don't know. Because I'm imagining Minneapolis and then like the big city and everything. What is a bluff?
It's a genre of a cliff, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
It's
like
steep,
a
broad,
round, broad cliff. And
think of something leading up to a beachhead, for example.
Yeah, they're formed through erosion.
Okay, so we're talking about Mississippi River cutting through, and then you've got bluffs
just
on the
slowly
side.
wearing
Bluffs
down the thing.
changing elevation, cliff sides along that coast of the
Okay,
river. Yeah.
so I can
Beavers love them.
That's
Beavers
right.
love a bluff.
Well, I could see that as a viable place to begin construction on some kind of
It's a good entry
underground
point.
thing.
You've already got an exposed, relatively soft place to start, drilling in to get to the site of your potential underground city or bunker or lair.
Like we always say, let geography do the work. You know what I mean?
Oh, and then the boring company will do the rest.
The boring company. So yeah, boring. I only just now got that connection, y'all. In my mind, I thought it was just like I'm being self-deprecating, which he probably still is. But yeah, they do literally drill holes. There is a great Reddit thread in r/RBI about the Longfellow Boom, and there's a lot of comments from locals about this phenomenon from folks living there in Minneapolis. Here's a little bit of a TLDR from the OP on that thread. For several decades, people living near the Mississippi River in South Minneapolis have reported hearing what's become known as the Longfellow Boom. Some describe it as a house-shakingly loud booming or crashing noise that seems to only happen at night during the summer months. Nobody has definitely been able to determine what is causing the sound. And then they linked to a quite good article in the Star Tribune's Curious Minnesota section. What is causing the mysterious Longfellow Boom in South Minneapolis? Neighbors near the Mississippi River have been searching for the cause of these house-shakingly loud noises. Here's the kicker, y'all. For decades. That'd be a long construction project. Sounds to me maybe it's more as a result of some sort of kind of perfect storm connection between various natural features, which does seem to be on the short list for potential causes of this phenomenon. But I do like the thought experiment of, some of these mysterious sounds being related to secret construction projects. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, that's super fun. I wonder if there's something nearby that I just don't know about because I don't know the Minneapolis area very well or Longfellow. I'm looking at a map and I'm noticing that the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport is pretty close south to where that, I guess, neighborhood is. Mm-hmm. And I'm also noticing that there's a huge military base that is like attached to that airport.
Yeah, there is.
Which makes me think about planes that could cause sonic booms coming in and out of there, maybe?
That's on the list, buddy. You nailed it. And we do have a tweet here from council member Andrew Johnson, city council there in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Says, we've been looking into that loud boom last night. He's talking specifically about one particular occurrence of the boom, predominantly in the Longfellow area around 10:30 p.m. I heard it too. What we know so far is that no one really seems to know where it came from. Fire crews were dispatched, but unable to find anything and did not detect any smoke or gas. Xcel Energy says no transformers were blown, another on the short list, and no reports of power out. Our stormwater and sewer staff did not have any events reported either. We are also not aware of anyone who witnessed the source of the noise. Folks who have lived in the neighborhood for a while may remember that there were a series of mysterious booms that occurred in the same area dating back over a decade. Perhaps this is a continuation. Curious to hear the thoughts of residents who have experienced these over the years. My office will continue to check in with our various partner agencies to see what we can turn up. This was actually a Facebook post, so we've got some nice boomer responses here. 21 years, this person responds having experienced this phenomenon for that long. I heard it in Standish, kind of scary that no one knows where it came from. So this person reports having heard it 6 to 7 years ago. It was an April evening. There was a boom in the Standish neighborhood, 39th Street and 29th Ave. It brought everyone on my block out of their homes. It not only shook windows, it shook our houses. We thought a plane or helicopter crashed. Maybe a house blew up. Police and fire were called. This sounds like a terrifyingly disruptive sound. Nothing was ever discovered. It's a mystery my neighborhood still talks about. This sounds very familiar. Let's see. One last one. There used to be regular booms 10 plus years ago that shook the house, and it happened often enough that I stopped worrying about the noise every time it happened, but I always at least went to the window. Last night's boom sounded more like some giant metal thing slamming into the ground. There was something metallic about it. Democracy Now! Had a boom discussion a couple of years back too. So this is, guys, can you think of some other analogs to this? Maybe that we might have mentioned. The hum was one, right? The Windsor hum, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Saturn, first off, thank you so much for reaching out. We're going to send you some links in our email correspondence here because as it turns out to that earlier question, there are a lot of unidentified booms. One that happened recently, a returning guest, is occurring across the high desert out there in San Bernardino. The U.S. Geological Survey has confirmed there's no significant seismic activity. But guys, let me give you a preview of what we're going to go send over to Saturn here, putting the link in the chat. There are loud booms going across so many different parts of the United States, especially in recent years. And I think we're onto something with the idea of military activity or secret excavations. It's actually kind of tough to find the records of this, especially when Saturn, like Noel was saying, especially when people can't concretely, definitively identify the source of these strange rumblings and sounds.
Yeah, an expert who spoke to the Tribune, the Star Tribune, about this, Fiona Quick, who's a writer who's lived in the Longfellow area for most of her life and has been documenting the phenomenon since she moved back, compiled a list of, her potential theories and some of her research through a blog. And most of her theories do involve human activity. One of my favorites is dynamite fishing. Nighttime dynamite fishing. Yeah. People throwing firecrackers in the water, or people just generally, quote, being stupid by the river. But her lead theory is interesting, and it does sort of, I think, open up the possibilities of what it might be. It's just the proximity of living along that river can really play some funny tricks on you as far as sound is concerned. She says, because you're down by the river, the sound echoes inordinately. Where I live is in a built-in kind of swampy area. The sound moves and the ground is kind of a built-in spring. So everything is river-based, water-based, and the sound travels differently.
Saturn, what we're saying is the river will call your bluff.
Yes. A river runs through it. That was fantastic, Ben.
Guys, I found a Longfellow Boom, at least according to Donnie Musgrove, who uploaded this on July 23rd, 2022 to YouTube. This is captured from a WYZE, W-Y-Z-E, security camera. It says it occurred at 2:21:07. I don't know if it looks like it's dark, so maybe that's in the morning at 2:21. Should we hear it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Here it goes.
Yeah. Sounds like a sound effect, man. Like from a video game or something. That is startling.
Let's replay it one more time for anybody who didn't catch it.
Okay, here we go. Let's listen to it one more time. Let's get the characteristics and action.
Ooh, I'm hearing gurgling there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but is that just reverberation, because of the area like we talked about with the river and everything?
Well, Matt, I don't know if we've mentioned this. I don't think we have on this show, but Ben and I have a relationship, lovely human, on Ridiculous History with someone who is the preeminent expert on underwater explosions, Dr. Rachel Lance. I wonder if we might get a little insight from her.
That would be awesome. I would love to hear what she has to say.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up. A few other common ideas that I've seen thrown around on the Reddit thread, or one that was actually mentioned in that article, electrical transformers exploding. One that really figures into what we're talking about here with some of those gurgly water sounds, a fault line under the river, just some sort of natural geological feature. Really seems like it could be the culprit. And even, I know you'll like this one, Matt, secret planes breaking the sound barrier. The sound has often been described, as we just heard, as like a bomb going off. So far when any local authorities have been alerted and come to the scene, haven't found anything. Maybe we'll see if we can get Dr. Lance to weigh in on this. Super interesting. So thanks for the email, Saturn. And we're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back.
And we've returned. And we are jumping to the voicemail lines, guys. We got a bunch of messages here. I have one from good Ol Russ about the Yule Cat. I think let's listen to it really quickly. It's just a great observation, and it plays off of things we've already talked about. And it does kind of remind me of what we talked about last week on Listener Mail with the Yule lads, the Icelandic volcano nerd. But it's just cool insight. So let's jump really quickly to good Ol Russ.
Hey, gents, good Ol Russ here. You can use my name or whatever. So I was just listening to your listener mail about the Yule Cat and the clothing exchange. And what I was thinking was, what if this whole threatening the kids was just a way for the parents, like an excuse, like, hey, I have to give you clothes or the Yule Cat's going to get you. Kind of like a cop out. Not like, oh my God, if I don't give you clothes, they're going to kill you. No, it's, hey, I have to give you clothes over toys or the Yule Cat's going to get you. Don't blame me that you got clothes for Christmas. You know, I'm looking out for you. Anyway, keep up the great work, guys. Just a thought. I'll check you guys later. Dylan, you're the best, man.
That's good.
It's the system, says Folklore. I love it.
Hard agree, Reed, Dylan being the best. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one way you could spin it to your kids, no doubt.
Yeah. Thank you, good Ol Russ.
But honestly, good Ol Russ, we do appreciate your insight there and your idea. We put that in there because of the shout out to Dylan. Dylan needs more love. More shout outs to Dylan in the voicemails. We call for it.
We call for it in the email and on social media as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, and we also call for leaving nice reviews on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. And if we get some particularly interesting, nice ones, maybe we'll add those to the listener mail rotation.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Yeah. Every time we get a nice review, an angel claps their hands and our boss texts us with cryptic encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It just says, great job, boys. But then you have no idea what the tone is.
But then they end it with a period and it seems aggressive.
Yeah, because they're writing actual sentences. Yeah.
We have no
but
idea.
also, like, without a period is more cryptic as well.
I disagree.
What about a question mark? Great job,
never
boys.
a question mark.
That's better. Also, an exclamation mark. You got to be careful with those. Good
don't
old Russ.
overdo it.
Yeah, good old Russ. We don't want to derail too far, but your logic feels solid here.
Yeah.
Because you can be the parent who is maybe not doing all the fun stuff, but the necessary stuff. And you can say, hey, kiddo, it's not me. You know, this is just the world in which we live.
Oh, yeah. I think in this house, we're going to start introducing the Yule Cat as a concept just
Right.
for all kinds of various things. You know, I hope that Yule Cat doesn't get you.
I got your back, Matt. I got a Yule Cat costume. Let's just make this happen. I'll just sort of caper at the end of the street in the horizon for a second, so you can prove it to your kids. Like,
You mean like pull a
that's real.
heist in your cat suit?
Oh, my God. If you could find a way, just get in the backyard just and kind of lurk back there just a little bit to where I can just open a window and be like, oh, what's that?
Okay, we'll work on that one. I think there's something here.
That would be amazing. All right, we're jumping to a voicemail where the audio comes from inside a vehicle. I tried my absolute best to use isotope on this one, guys, to just clean it up so we could hear, because I think it's a good thing to know. It is difficult to understand at times. So let's jump to this anonymous voicemail call and just remind everybody, please, please, please find a good sound environment when you call into the voicemail system. It just helps everybody out, especially your fellow conspiracy realists, to understand what you're saying, including us. All right, here we go.
Hey guys, I was just listening to your last thing about the Epstein emails. You guys talked about the dog that didn't bark, and I wanted you to know that that was a Sherlock Holmes reference. So unfortunately, Epstein likes Sherlock Holmes. So there was a story called The Adventures of Silver Blaze, and Silver Blaze was a racehorse that disappeared the night before a big race, and the trainer was murdered. And Sherlock Holmes noticed that the dog in the stable didn't bark, so that means the murderer must have been friends with the dog. So basically, he was using a metaphor saying that the absence of a clue can tell you something. That's it. Thanks. Bye.
Dude, that's so cool. I've been working my way through the complete volumes of Sherlock Holmes, and I haven't gotten an audiobook. I haven't gotten to the dog that didn't bark yet, but I do love a Holmesian, reference, although it was from not a great guy. But yeah, interesting. Hadn't heard that.
What was it called?
The name of the
Silver
story?
Blaze.
That's right.
Silver Blaze. Okay.
1892. And it's interesting here, Anonymous, because a lot of people have been really kind of diving into the nature of the emails. I think, Matt, you mentioned, or we had a great conversation about the possibility of speaking in coded language. And I think you, Noel, Tennessee, and I all kind of landed on the same page that there was definitely some tricky wordplay in those emails. People are being careful about what they type. I haven't found proof, and it's going to be hard to find proof, but I haven't found proof that Jeffrey Epstein was specifically going, and I'll reference Sherlock Holmes' Silver Blaze from 1892. Ghislaine and et al. Will totally get this. But it does sound persuasive, right? It's juicy. It's tantalizing to imagine that this is a Sherlock Holmes reference.
I think it is, though. I mean, like, it's definitely a Holmesian trope. Like, it comes, if you type that phrase in, all you get are quotes from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and like the Wikipedia for that story comes right up. I think he was absolutely making an intentional reference, whether he was, doing it on purpose or not. Might have been in the back of his mind. It's interesting.
Dude, but just thinking about that coded language, I went back through yesterday and I was looking at Pizzagate emails and just going through and trying to understand, like, what was the phrasing in here specifically that, made me so suspicious way back in the day, and then, built that entire thing. And then, we went through and analyzed it pretty hard over the years, but still, like, what was the phrasing, right? The coded language kind of thing. And there's some weird stuff, but it's mostly just out of context talking about food, which is odd in itself, right? But none of it was a smoking gun for activity happening, right? Not a single thing in those WikiLeaks emails, but in these it's pretty in your face. And then I saw, guys, yesterday, November 18th, there was a story posted in Reuters about charges against some ex-investment banker and a bunch of other people doing a global, insider trading scheme. And at the very bottom of that Reuters article, they talk about the codes that they were speaking in. And I'm just going to read this one little sentence here. They spoke in code as well, referencing money as greens, insider trading as running, yet to be announced deals as races, and another, like a race, and then another company's prospective merger, the two partners, as girls and or models. So they were having email exchanges talking about what they were doing, just it was not stuff that would ping on a metadata search or something.
So it would be something like, hey, everybody, the girls and models are running green. There's a race.
Yeah, but but I'm assuming it would, I don't know exactly how it would be worded, right? But like somehow in there, they can talk openly just with those phrases.
And they probably have a different window of usage, right?
Yeah.
Not to get too into the weeds, but they wouldn't have an entire sentence with all the keywords in it. It would be like, oh, hey, how you doing? The weather's great today. I went running outside. And then like two other innocuous sentences, something about girls and or models, something about greens. You know what I mean? There's an art to it.
Yeah. It is weird thinking that you might have a conversation, just thinking to yourself, you might have a conversation one time about the compromat you've been accruing over the course of decades. And like, if you're doing that already, are you nervous about somebody finding your email? You know, because you've got all this compromat on everybody that might find your email and want to hurt you.
I've been thinking about that, you guys, because now we get to the argument or the consideration of the following theory, which will probably interest you, Adon. Would it be possible to just, especially with automation and AI trash programs, would it be possible to just inundate your suspicious email address with a bunch of wackadoo, funny, why would I read this stuff? You know what I mean? So for like every one email you have that has some sort of relevant or pertinent information, you have 1,000 others that shoot out that are just, calling back to our earlier episode, they're just your opinions about Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Do you think we could get away with that?
I think you could if you made that thing, like that fictional thing that you're creating and cooking up, workshopping with somebody over email, make that fictional thing the same thing or very similar to the thing you're actually doing. So then now it's impossible to tell, well, are they talking about something real or are they talking about this fictional world that they're building?
Yeah, a little bit of role playing, blur the lines between reality and fiction. So if we were to give notes to Jeffrey Epstein, we have a few. We're not on a list though, folks. If we were to give some notes, if you want to use things like a dog that hasn't barked, then if you want to get away with that and convey that information in a secure way, have a bunch of other information, other emails about dogs and barking versus howling and, Eukanuba and the dog show, whatever the dog show is, be a person who talks about dogs, and then you can slide some slick in there. Thank you for the beep, Dylan.
Dude, some weird stuff is going on with the Epstein thing. It got approved with only one dissenting vote.
Okay,
I know.
What was the thinking with that guy? Was he trying to make a statement? Did he not get the memo of which way it was going to?
It's a symbolic thing. Congress does this all the time for any political stripe. If you already know the way the wind blows, shout out to Bob Dylan, you don't have to be the weatherman, right? You can make a symbolic stance that does not affect what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you could say something like, hey, I'm just worried this is going to affect some people in ways that we don't understand yet. Unintentional consequences. I'm a little worried about that.
It's a nuanced conversation.
That's fine, whatever.
Also, thank you for the campaign donations.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We're going to have to just keep our ears to the ground because it's going to get weirder and weirder. Speaking of weirder and weirder, guys, do you remember Inconspicuous's near-death experience from last week?
Yeah, quite excited about this.
Well, apparently he didn't finish. So we don't even know his full near-death experience. So he called back in with a little more information, and it's kind of beautiful. So let's jump to Inconspicuous.
Hello, gents. This is Inconspicuous again. You put me on air last week, which of course you can do the same with this one if you'd like. I'm following up because I only got half of my near-death experience out to you before the 3-minute mark. So here goes the rest. Okay. Pastel, light energy, medieval scene. There were beings around, and all of them were made of light energy. Just the happiest place you could ever possibly be. And I had a guide. The guide was much taller than me, no distinguishable features other than a humanoid form made of light energy. Guided me into said castle where every brick was radiating at a different light spectrum. Everyone was unique. And I felt like this was purposefully meant for me. So we walked down the corridor and I stopped and, nothing was verbal, but I got the indication that I was supposed to look into one of these bricks. I remember thinking and feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm going to find out all the answers to the universe and everything, right? 42. So I poke my head into one of these bricks of light, and I was instantly looking through the eyes of a very young toddler, and it felt like it was in Central Park. I was a little child, a little girl, to be more specific. And I have a daughter and had a daughter at this time. So I was like, well, I know that this isn't one of my memories. I know that this is not my daughter's memory because I look completely different than her. And I would have remembered we've never been to New York or to any clean, extravagant park like that. I immediately realized that I was being given a choice to accept a new life or go back to the old one that I wasn't finished with. So I immediately got angry and I was shot back into my body and I woke up smiling. Have a good night.
Well,
It's incredible. You know what it makes me think of? I don't mean to joke, but like that episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns is wandering through the forest, like glowing and saying like, I bring you love. I bring you peace.
I don't know
Just
that
in
one.
terms of the entity of it all and the glowing, native energy. That's where my mind. It's a great episode.
Well, I'm sure it is. Simpsons rocks. But it is reminiscent of other NDEs we've heard about in the past, right? This concept of whether, in this case, it's luminous bricks. Other cases, it's almost like windows that you're looking through and it's just other people's perceptions or other people's lives. And you're kind of walking through a gallery of some sort. It's very, very cool. And I just love the way you presented it in Conspicuous because it sounds like something I would want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you Inconspicuous, you've probably heard this before, but what you are describing tells us, or at least me, that you are not alone in this experience, because so many people have reported similar phenomena, right? Like you were saying, Matt, there's this commonality, at least in self-reporting, that still sort of baffles science. Neurologists are still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Your description of the, as Noel said, luminescent, sort of friendly Mr. Burns character reminds me of our episode on Third Man Syndrome. Do you guys remember that?
Of course. It's like the Jesus footprints, thing.
Yeah. Footprints in the sand. There's this fascinating thing where a lot of people who have NDEs or near-death experiences describe not only a huge shift in perspective, but they describe meeting other entities that are usually going to be benevolent and wise and helpful. And if you want to learn more about this, check out the story of Ernest Shackleton, I want to say, the Arctic explorer. He's the one who popularized the concept of Third Man Syndrome. I don't know. I keep going back to those episodes in Conspicuous because in those we find, without getting into, all the hair-splitting stuff about scientific method, we find a lot of people who have provably had a near-death experience reporting a lot of the same things. Although I got to say, I'm with the team here on this one, man. That description of uniquely light-attuned different bricks in a castle, come on, that's amazing. That's just phenomenal storytelling too.
But yeah, and the concept that each one of those is, if you hook yourself up to it in such a way, that can become your perception. The bricks of perception. Huh?
I see. It's a segue.
Huh? Well, we talked about the doors of perception recently, and I think I made some not good joke about it, the book being about addiction or something because it was drug related. But then we're not going to share it, Cactus RX, but Cactus RX sent in a voicemail just saying, hey, that's not what Doors of Perception is about. It's about mescaline and peyote and, some pretty hefty things. It's not addiction. And you're absolutely right.
However, Aldous Huxley did write Brave New World, right?
Hey.
It's the Pepsi to the Coca-Cola of Orwell's 1984. God, that works. Okay, that works. We'll
Yes,
keep
it does.
But the issue with addiction in Brave New World is quite apparent because the society forces people to ingest certain things.
Yes. Peyote. As
Yeah,
Cactus
I like when you
RX put
say
it.
it that way.
Can I ask you guys something really quickly?
Yeah.
Is it still considered addiction if it's a prescribed medication, like something that you rely on for mental health, for example? Like
Sure.
I ran out of a medication, what's the word I'm looking for? An anti-anxiety, antidepressant kind of medication for the first time since I've been taking it. And I really felt it. Like I felt withdrawal. I felt real not good. And it made me really realize how much my brain depends on these substances, even though I think addiction is a term thrown around more, around illegal drugs or around drug abuse. But we are all still addicted to the medications we are prescribed.
Right. There's I really appreciate that point, Noel. There's a dependency conversation, right? And addiction
Is dependency versus addiction.
Right. And so like if you have a physiological medical condition, like a lot of us in the audience tonight, then should we say you are addicted to a heart medication when we know that a month without that medication will result in your death? I think that's a really interesting conversation we can explore further.
Uh-huh. All right, well, that's it for now on the voicemail systems. We will be back with more messages from you.
And we have returned. Fellow conspiracy realists, as you probably know, hopefully know, we had an episode toward the Halloween season about the concept of selling one's soul. And I think we were all mutually fascinated by the nuances involved. We heard from an awesome guy we're going to call Pastor Jeff. We heard from a lot of other people about the idea of selling their souls. And then we also had a lot of correspondence about the First Amendment. We don't have time to get to all of these, so if we're okay with it, I propose that we talk about the follow-up responses to our conversation about China and, what makes an influencer legitimate. Yeah? Okay. For a brief recap of this, folks, we had the news in a recent Strange News program about the government of China's plan to require certain influencers to have bona fides, to prove that if you are talking about finance, law, or medicine specifically, says Uncle Xi and the boys, then you have to also provide certification, a diploma, a degree, something like that, so that the people encountering that social media aren't just talking to a rando who woke up one day and said Swiss cheese is the key to curing diabetes or something like that.
It's Tylenol, you guys.
It's Tylenol, yes. And check out our Ridiculous History episode that published recently on the Chicago Tylenol murders. Shout out to our research associate on that one, Dylan. Sorry, Dylan, different Dylan. You're always going to be our Tennessee. So here we go. Beuford gives us a very thoughtful response to our conversation about a dilemma that I think we as a group are still dithering over and perhaps mithering other people about. So, Beuford, you say, hello again, Ben, Matt, and Noel. I am listening to the latest Strange News program and your discussion on how China is attempting to control the spread of misinformation or disinformation on social media touches on something I've been thinking about quite a bit lately. Should the First Amendment offer the same protections online? As an American, says Beuford, my knee-jerk response is, of course. But after further reflection, I question that reaction. And this goes back to what we're talking about with, well, we've been saying for years, technology always outpaces legislation. Should the First Amendment apply to digital public forums, knowing that the internet has no real borders? You know what I mean? Like, is going on to TikTok and us saying, wait, we use Swiss cheese and diabetes. What's something else? Just making a crazy claim. Like saying, hey, shoes are just gloves for your feet. Wait, No, that's actually true.
Okay, I think I understand. I mean, but isn't this sort of the very nature of free speech? Like such a big part of the way we exercise free speech these days is online. So isn't that just inevitably going to get swept up into, crackdowns on free speech potentially? Is there any way that it is somehow exempt from that? I don't know that it is. It'd be harder.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's great, man, because that's the badger in the bag, right? Beuford continues and says, the concept of freedom, at least to me, carries with it a sense of personal responsibility and accountability. One should not be completely free to act if they are not held to account for their actions. And conversely, people who are not acting of their own free will are usually granted some leniency, right? So if you're making somebody, shout anti-Falun Gong messages on a street corner, or if you're if you're making a kid, a 6-year-old or something, trot out on Pennsylvania Avenue and say some wild stuff they don't understand about the Federal Reserve, is that freedom of speech for the kid? Does the kid have agency? I don't know. This is such deep water.
Doesn't it feel like free speech is one of the coolest things that exists, one of the most important things that exist, but doesn't it also feel like it is kind of the thing that's getting us in a lot of hot spots, like a lot of trouble lately, just when it comes to what the nature of truth and belief and all of these things, the things that make us human?
Yeah. And it really becomes a who watches the Watchmen scenario, right? Or the dilemma here is, okay, if any given community, nation, tribe, civilization, whatever, if they decide that for the greater good, freedom of speech has to be mitigated or disallowed, then who gets to tell you when to shut up? You know what I mean? Who's in charge of the conversation there? I think it's super sticky. I don't know if there's an actual right answer on this one. I don't know about you guys, but I've been thinking about this for a while. It's really bugging me.
The answer is quit social media.
The answer is quit social media. Stop sipping them social meds. Beuford, you continue. You say, we also know that humans act differently when they feel shielded from accountability. Mob mentality will lead people to do things as part of a group that they would never do individually. Screen names and avatars give people a sense of anonymity that allows them to speak and act in ways that they otherwise wouldn't. I think we could all agree with that, right?
Sure.
Like if you meet somebody in the street and you talk to them in physical proximity, they're going to behave differently than they would if they were YouTube butt rock 69x69x on YouTube.
Have we talked about that before? The concept of having real names on the internet, so every account would be your actual
tied
name
to some sort of irrefutable bit of personal data, whether it be like a social or driver's license or what have you, right? And we're pushing back against that even in like getting age verified for porn sites. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, there's an argument out there where people are like, no, this is the slipperiest of slopes.
The law in the United Kingdom we talked about, which is rolling out. And then, of course, one for the Gooners, as you mentioned, the idea of age verification. I remember responding to YouTube comments on our original channel and having people surprised that we replied back. And the tenor of their conversation totally changed because we hacked Dunbar's number, right? And now they're talking to an actual entity instead of some faceless channel on the internet. But I do think, I don't know, I'm so torn about this, Natalie Imbruglia style, because people do behave differently when they're anonymous or when they feel that they're anonymous.
How dare you make that song play in my head, sir?
I'm torn, I'm already fifth.
No, wait, do it again.
This is how I feel. You know, that's actually a cover. There's an original version of that that's not nearly as good, but they didn't really get much love for that.
I think because Natalie Imbruglia, we're a huge fan of your work, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. Natalie Imbruglia's cover of Torn is beautiful to me because they kept in the deep inhalations.
Right.
Yeah,
it's true. That's where the passion is expressed in the inhales.
And we say that as fans. And you know the names that we use here in the United States, folks, so we're not being anonymous.
I'm a professional. I move my mouth when I breathe on the microphone. Does anybody remember what that's in
Tazon
reference
Day?
to? Yeah.
Tazon Day. Chocolate rain.
And so Beuford, in the spirit of Chocolate Rain, continues and says, if that sense of responsibility and personal accountability is not present, then whatever it is that we're talking about can really no longer be described as freedom. It would be something else. And is that something else something that deserves protection? Beuford, I think you are right there with us and all our fellow listeners trying to figure out whether there is a silver bullet, solve everything, panacea or solution to this, because you continue. That's not to say I necessarily agree with how China is approaching the issue, but like you all said about it, I am torn, lying naked on the floor.
Of course,
it's the only way to be. For you, Natalie, for you. But I do think it's a mistake, says Beuford, to equate speaking to a crowd in the town square to posting online from a semi-anonymous social media handle. Those are very different things. I think it's also worth remembering that the First Amendment protects our right to say whatever we feel, but it does not protect our access to a platform we don't own in order to amplify our message. Kind of like we were talking about again, right? The quote-unquote public square of social media is privately owned. So anybody who owns the thing can kick you off at any time, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is that freedom of speech? I don't know.
It's tricky, y'all.
I really wish I wasn't as into this whole verify your credentials thing as I am. I'm a little into it, and I really wish I wasn't.
I am too, Matt. I truly,
Yeah.
I see the benefit of it, and does not feel so much awful things result from people being able to be completely anonymous. And I don't know that that's like a feature. It feels like the ability for people to do things without consequences.
Exactly. I think we're all on the same page here, because the social technology, the social compact has to evolve in step with what we call technology. And that hasn't happened yet. Who knows when it's going to happen? I keep thinking, we always talk about the greater good argument, right? Would we be willing to sacrifice some liberty for some security? That is an old conversation, and it keeps coming back. We cannot wait to hear your thoughts, friends and neighbors, fellow conspiracy realists. Like Beuford said, we don't know what the answer is or what the best course of action is, but it's something that's been on our minds a whole lot in recent years. And we are paraphrasing you, Beuford, and I hope you like that we included ourselves in your last sentence there, because it's something that everybody in this escape room called life is going to have to figure out pronto, like sooner than you think. We didn't want this to end on a sad note, so we do have something that is not a great moral quandary. We have some breaking food news, you guys. Yeah. And folks, if you think you're ready, strap in. You might not be ready. Our pal, longtime friend of the show, Chef Ben, introduced us to a phenomenal concept inspired in part by our early explorations of the Farito. Chef Ben has created something he calls Enchiladasagna.
What?
I love it already.
10-10, no notes.
Is that like chilaquiles?
It's look, the research is ongoing. Okay, guys, but it does appear from our intel to be both lasagna and enchiladas.
Okay.
And the word just hums. You know what I mean? It's a real Longfellow Boom.
Wait, hold on.
Enchiladasagna?
I know.
Come
I
on.
agree. I just didn't hear a lot of humming in that boom that we heard. That's all.
Oh, yeah. And play that part back again, folks.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, one person's hum is another person's scream, right? I don't know. This is why you might need a degree to be an influencer. But Chef Ben does have his bona fides, and I got to ask you, what do we think about enchiladasagna? I just like saying it.
Sign me up. And that's the most important thing is that the name rolls off the tongue, which we've demonstrated that it clearly does. So what could go wrong?
Oh, yeah. Do we have the recipe?
We don't have the recipe. The intel's not there yet, but we do have some on-the-ground audio-visual footage.
Oh, my God.
I know. It's the Cold War all over again. So what we know from initial reporting is that this is smoked pulled pork enchiladasagna. So that is our active ingredient.
Oh, we got some hatch chilies in there. What kind of chilies are we working with?
We have to know, Chef Ben. We can't wait to hear from you, Chef. We also want to thank Inconspicuous, Good Ol Russ, Anonymous, Cactus RX, Saturn, not the car, Pastor Jeff Beuford, and everyone for tuning in. As we get here toward the end of the year, we would like to hear from you. Please stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. We got a lot on the way for you. And let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about the First Amendment. Look, folks, if you can figure out this First Amendment problem, can you just tell us? Like, at this point, just fix it.
We're just looking
please.
for answers, y'all.
Yeah. Find us via email. Always find us on the phone. Find us on the lines.
You certainly can do that by checking us out on the internet at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy on X, FKA Twitter, and on YouTube, where we have video content for your perusing enjoyment on Instagram and TikTok. However, we are Conspiracy Stuff Show, and there's more.
We have a phone number. It is 1-833-STDWYTK. When you call in, give yourself a nickname and let us know if we can use your name and message on the air. When you call in, you've got 3 minutes, and please try and do it from a place with good sound, good audio, quiet, and then speak. Speak! If you want to instead send us an email, we are
The entities that read each piece of correspondence we receive, be well aware yet unafraid, sometimes the void writes back. Send us your random favorite words. We'll send you one as well. Join us out in the dark. Conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.